All right, please pardon me as I'm under the weather, and this is the third time I'm doing this video because once again I ran out of drive space, and then I realized that no one could see my guitar when I was saying, "You can see here," you know. Listen, this video should be fairly quick. What I'm trying to describe is some very simple things that you can do if you're starting out trying to write punk style stuff, which seems, you know what, it's kind of funny that punk never really went out of fashion. It seems, anyway. Although any band with a guitar doesn't make it onto the charts, it seems, these days, right? Um, but just giving a few simple things that can, with an example here, that can take a song from like a 50s or 60s style of song and turn it into a punk style of song. And I think the early punk stuff really references 50s and 60s pop. Don't kid yourself, it certainly does. But they made some changes to make it sound new and more exciting. And we're going to get into some of the simple changes that you can do. And these are things that I think it was used by the Ramones, the Sex Pistols, the Clash, you know. I'm sure they use some of these things here and there. So I'm going to have to adjust my camera so that you can actually see my guitar, because I think it kind of matters. Although when I describe it, I think anyone who plays guitar would know. But there we go. So you can see the mess on my floor, and you may see my dog, and you can see all my guitars now, but not my bass. But anyway, yeah, so let's talk about this. First of all, avoid power chords. I know a lot of people think that cranking up the distortion and then using power chords, because you have to. If you crank up the distortion, you have to use power chords. Otherwise, all of the frequencies going over top of each other creates a huge dissonance, right? That's why Johnny applied just, a bit of distortion in the tubes, when he was playing, Johnny Ramone. So that is a different thing that was introduced more with metal, okay? But punks played full chords, full major and minor chords. But then the thing that confused me when I was starting looking at their songs, when I was just starting to play, was how do they have all these major chords in one key, right? And I'm going to show you what they do, and it's all very basic, and it's been around for a long time, and I'm going to give you a really good example of what they do to get more major chords in there and to create a sound that at the time was kind of new and seems to have somehow carried on to today. I'm going to give you an example. So let's say I'm writing a song and I'm using only diatonic chords. So diatonic chords are the chords where every note in that chord fits into the key that you're playing in. So I'm playing in E major. I decide I'm going to play in E major. And I'll just write what would be a typical 60s style pop chord progression. Now, that doesn't sound punk at all, right? But it does sound maybe like 60s pop. Like, someone could probably take that and someone that's talented could make something out of it, right? But a band like DEVO, who were on the kind of cutting edge of punk and new wave back in 76, 77, have no time for that. They have a totally different approach. So they're going to play an E major. But that G sharp minor, they're going to flatten that to just be G major, right? Well, I'll play it like this. The C sharp minor, they're going to flatten to C major. And they're going to introduce D, but instead of playing D sharp diminished, they're just going to play D major. So what you have here is they've taken the third chord in the key and they flattened that and made it major, and they did the same with the 6 and the 7. So now you have a bunch of major chords. And so how does it sound when they play this chord progression? verses. So what you can see here is that their music is really based off of a 60s kind of pop thing, but they've adjusted the chords to play as many major chords as possible, and they have a lot of picking. I'm not very good at picking right yet in the song as well, and I'm going to play the song afterwards, and you're just going to hear that huge difference. But the reality is they didn't do anything really out there in order to generate that sound. They simply used some flat chords. And then the other thing, when I was talking about the Ken Tamplin thing recently, I found a person's video, a fantastic kid. Well, not a kid, you know. He's probably in his 30s. But anyway, a person that was taking Ken Tamplin's course put up a video of him singing and said, "Hey, judge me, you know, I've been doing this for 7 months." And I responded, "Listen, you've got to get an instructor that can pull your voice out. Find your voice." And I'm going to explain voice in a second. But I also said, I think I was talking about the breathing and stuff like that. And it looked like he was getting some very bad advice because everything he was doing looked like it was difficult. Whereas it should be an expression, right? But stepping back, when I say voice, what is your voice? John Lydon portraying Johnny Rotten. That is a voice. It is a character. I see people like, I can't believe Johnny Rotten is like this today. It was a character. It was something he pulled out. It was a stage act. It cannot be him. Right? And you have to find that as well. So there's two things in punk that are so important, and this is why in that genre I have no hope, right? And in some ways, with the youth, it really means a lot. First of all, you have to play a little bit differently. You can't play 60s style stuff straight up. You have to change it and modernize it. But the other thing is you have to find a voice inside, and that voice that comes from the whole band, but it also mostly the singer has to have this character. It doesn't have to be a real character. Look at the Misfits. You know, well, some of them I think they are those characters. I don't know. But those are the two things you have to do. And I wish I was young and I had the energy now that I kind of understand it. But some people understand these things innately. John Lydon understood innately, I'm going to get out there and I'm going to piss off the entire world, you know? And that's what he did. He did it. And it's classic recordings, the Sex Pistols, mostly because of what he was doing, but also some decent songwriting. I just thought the songwriting, I thought it sounded too much like the New York Dolls to be as exciting as like the Ramones and the Damned and the Clash. I still think they sound like the New York Dolls. If you listen to the first album and put on a New York Dolls album, even the production kind of sounds just as messy to me. But that's just my opinion. But anyway, all of those bands would have used these flat chords a lot all over the place. And if you're looking at starting a punk band, get away from the power chords right away. And do what these bands did, which was experiment with major and minor chords. I'm going to give one for a further example, actually. Because, for example, if you want to be like the Clash, you can add some major chords. You can add a 7 chord, right? You can make it a flat 7. And then you get progressions like this. That's just with one added flat chord. But then when you move on to the next part, you can be like, add in that 6 minor chord, and it adds personality that if you're only using power chords, you will not find that personality. You can force it into there with your lyrics, but on the guitar, you're not going to have it. So I hope that makes sense to people. And hey, I'm just kind of new. I've only been playing guitar for about not even 2 years and trying to write songs. So if I'm full of crap, give some evidence in the comments below so that we can all learn from your expertise on the subject. Have a good night. Actually, there's one thing I wanted to add in here, and that is that I checked a bunch of websites. Like, we all know this. There's a bunch of websites out there. you can ask what key a song is in and all this stuff. And it is so funny for this song because it's all over the place. It's like it's in D major. Oh, it's in E minor. Really? There's not even an E minor chord in the entire song. So there is confusion. But something that happens at the end of the song it goes back and forth between D major and C major and ends on D major, which may cause people to think that it's in D major, and you can probably work around in the chords in some way and find a way for that to be the case, and that could be the case. But once again, going from D major to C major and back to D major, and having it's the bridge essentially changes. I think the bridge changes the key. But once again, you have a flat 7, because going from D major to C major and ending on D major, you have a flat 7, because in the key of D major, you should have a C sharp diminished, right? So I think, in reality, the beginning you would say is in the key of E major with a flat 3, flat 6, and flat 7. And then in the bridge and through the following, it's in the key of D major with a flat 7. But look how much they get out of there. They're playing D and C. This is James Brown level stuff where he's like, I've got 2 chords. We're going to work this into the ground. That's the genius of stuff like James Brown and, in this case, DEVO. Okay, here it comes. Have a good night.